Can I ask you a question? What if the very thing you fear the most, being fully seen with all of your flaws, all of your struggles, what if that's the one thing that could actually set you free? What if your real strength isn't found in all the walls you've built around you, but in the courage to take a step closer, closer to your spouse, closer to your kids, closer to your colleagues, even when that's hard, even when it's tense? Sometimes you feel like you're failing your kids. It's hard to go close to them. You feel like you don't have it all together and you don't want to go to church. Ultimately, we need to step closer to God, right? You and I, we live in a world that praises distance. We have digital distance, emotional distance, spiritual distance. We don't even like to go to the store anymore. We just order things on Amazon. We like calling it boundaries. But if you're honest with yourself, you know that sometimes it's fear in a respectable disguise. At least that's what it is for me, especially as an introvert. Today, I want to talk to you about the power of proximity, about that sacred, terrifying, but healing strength that comes when you choose to get close enough to really care about people, close enough to get hurt, and close enough ultimately to heal. Getting close is scary, isn't it? Because proximity makes you vulnerable. And as a leader, you've probably been taught that vulnerability is weakness. People maybe didn't use those words, but that's kind of what you've come to think. It's so easy to hide behind your performance, your title, your success, your busyness. And it makes for us like a great costume. It's a lot harder to sit down with someone, look them in the eye, and say, you know what? I'm not okay. Have you thought about how Jesus modeled this for you? He never kept a safe distance. He touched lepers. Can you imagine the scandal? He got on his knees and he washed the dirty feet of his friends. I've never done that. Jesus wept with Mary and Martha. He didn't offer platitudes. He entered into their pain when Lazarus was dead, even though in John 11, he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead. Proximity, and that's where true power is found, right? You have to know this. The enemy of your soul, Satan, loves distance. He loves to keep you far apart. If he can't destroy you, he's going to try to isolate you. He'll get in your ear and he'll whisper, you're fine. Keep your guard up. Build your walls. Don't let them see you sweat. Don't be vulnerable. Your strength as a leader doesn't come from your isolation. It comes from connection to God and to his people. Have you ever noticed how we, especially in the church, equate emotional control with spiritual maturity? You praise the leader who seems unflappable, who never shows a crack in his armor. You might even secretly pride yourself on the fact that you're so low maintenance. You don't need anyone or anything. But I want you to ask yourself, is that you're calling control? Is that actually just emotional avoidance? Are you truly unshaken, or have you just become numb? Resilience isn't about ignoring pain. Resilience is when you feel the pain. You actually might feel it really deeply, but you can make the right decision anyway. You can keep working. You can push through the pain with the help of others, including Christ. It sounds a lot like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, doesn't it? He felt so much anguish, he sweat drops of blood. He didn't hide his pain from the Father. He was in full proximity to his own suffering. And yet, in that place of vulnerability, Jesus was able to say, not my will, but yours be done. That's what proximity with the Father looks like for you. It's not hiding your pain. It's actually surrendering your pain. Let me tell you a few stories to kind of explain what I'm talking about here, right? First one's about a Christian CEO. He felt completely disconnected from his team. Maybe you're in that spot. They respected his title, but they didn't really know his heart. So he tried something terrifying. He started opening his staff meetings by sharing a small, honest failure from his week, something where he flubbed up. Not a huge dramatic confession, but something real. That's what happened. You probably can guess. Morale skyrocketed because your proximity, your willingness to be known, builds more trust than your performance ever will. Your vulnerability, your transparency. What about someone who pastors a large church? They're used to preaching to thousands on Sunday. This guy feels utterly alone every Monday. And one day, this pastor stands before his church and simply says, I want you to know I've been struggling with anxiety lately. You would think that might damage his credibility, but it didn't. It humanizes him. After the service, people will probably line up, not for a handshake, but for a hug and to say, me too, I can relate to that. Your proximity replaces your need to perform with the simple gift of your presence. Let me be really personal here and transparent. My own kids sometimes call me out. I have 5 kids, ages 7 to 14. I remember when my oldest daughter was a toddler, probably about 3 years old, and I teach at Bob Jones University, and I take my kids for walks around the campus, and we look at fountains and stuff like that. And I was at a playground close to her nursery, and she was in one of those special kid swings. I'm swinging her with one hand, and with the other hand, I'm checking email on my phone. I'm mindlessly asking her about her day, thinking she had no idea that I was doing 2 things at once. Kind of proud of myself for multitasking. And after a few pushes, my daughter Lillian said, Dad, can you push me with 2 hands instead of 1? I said, Sure, honey, I can do that. Does it feel different when I push you with two hands instead of one? And she said with total honesty, no, it doesn't feel any different. I just don't want you looking at your phone when you're supposed to be playing with me. That cut deep. Sure, there was a part of me and my first instinct that wanted to justify it, to defend my important work. I'm running businesses, I'm providing for our family. What other dads had gotten their kids out of the nursery during the afternoon to swing them? I had all these thoughts go through my mind, but I realized justification was not the right approach. My daughter was right. Got down on her level and said something like, "You're right, sweet girl. I'm sorry I messed up. I won't look at my phone when I swing you." I think that 15-second apology to my toddler daughter did more for our relationship probably than years of parenting books ever could. Your proximity is what will win your child's heart. They need your presence. They don't need your lectures. God gives us, in many ways, a blueprint for proximity. It's not a new leadership trend. It's God's design. When God wanted to save you, he didn't send an email or a memo from heaven. He sent himself. God incarnate, Jesus Christ. John 1:14 says, the Word, the incarnate Word, God, became flesh and dwelt among us. God didn't shout instructions from a distance. He didn't write it in the clouds on the sky. He moved into your neighborhood. The incarnation is the ultimate proof of the power of proximity, the very thing that we're talking about today. You see this pattern everywhere in the Bible, don't you? Moses had to draw near to the burning bush before he could hear God's call for his life. Yahweh spoke to him from the bush. Elijah heard God's voice, not in the earthquake or the fire, but in the still small voice, the gentle whisper, something that's hard to hear unless you're really close. Prodigal son's father, when his son repented and returned, didn't wait on the porch. He ran to his son. Proximity over pride. Distance might feel safe to you, but love, healing, redemption, those things happen up close. The distance you create to protect yourself from pain is the same distance that blocks you from joy. The more walls that you build up around your heart, the lonelier your leadership becomes. You can't minister from a distance. You can't really disciple from a distance. You can't truly lead your family from a distance. Jesus didn't Zoom with his disciples. He walked dusty roads with them. He ate with them. He touched people that society had thrown out. Jesus touched the untouchables. If Jesus, the Son of God, chose proximity over his own comfort, how can you and I justify choosing anything else? I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like vulnerability, that horrible, terrible V word that so many of us dread. And you're right. You're probably familiar with Brené Brown and her work on vulnerability. She says, without vulnerability, there is no courage. Courage isn't being fearless. You know that. It's feeling the fear and being faithful anyway. Weak people run from their emotions. Strong people, people like you, learn to walk through them, holding God's hand. Vulnerability is proximity to the truth. It's you standing before God and before a trusted friend and saying, here I am, all of me, the polished parts I put on stage and the messy parts I hide. This is the real me. That's why James 5:16 says, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Where does your healing happen? It happens when you're close to others, when you're in proximity. I think all of us have proximity issues. Maybe before you've done that kind of awkward Christian side hug, the one I'm talking about, like it's a half hug, half escape plan. It communicates, I'm kind of obligated to love you, but please don't get too close to me. I've done that before. Have you ever been in a small group where the leader says, let's get vulnerable, and you literally feel the air suck out of the room as everyone suddenly remembers an urgent appointment they forgot? My Sunday night small group wasn't like that. The leader encouraged people to be vulnerable, and several people were extremely vulnerable. It was fantastic. But we've been in the opposite, right? We sometimes want closeness, it's not too close. Jesus calls us to an all-in life, not a life of social distancing, a life of spiritual nearness. Let's make this really practical for you. If you're a pastor watching this, I challenge you this week, share something God's teaching you right now, not some polished lesson from 10 years ago. Lead from your heart, not just the stage. If you're a parent, try trading a lecture of 10 minutes for just listening. Sit on the edge of your child's bed tonight and ask questions. Your kids don't need your perfection. They desperately need your presence. If you're a business owner, how could you be the kind of boss who actually prays for your people by name? You can't truly be a blessing to people that you don't even get close to. So leader, here's my challenge for you, the person watching this right now. Come closer, not to the camera, not to YouTube, but come closer to your spouse. Send that text right now and set up a date night. My wife and I had a great date night last night. Come closer to your kids. Put your phone down when they talk to you. I learned that lesson the hard way. Get closer to your church family. Invite someone over for dinner. Even if your house is a mess, get closer to your Savior. Don't let fear disguise itself as strength any longer. Don't let your professional composure replace your Christ like compassion. The power of proximity is this: your healing happens when you're up close, joy happens when you're up close, revival in your heart and in your ministry, it happens when you're actually in close proximity to people. Jesus is still whispering the same invitation he's always been whispering, and he's saying it directly to you: come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened. And when you finally take that step, when you finally draw near to Jesus, you'll find that the closeness you once feared is the very thing that your soul was made for all along. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider hitting the little thumbs up or subscribe. Consider sharing this with a friend that maybe needs it. And I just want you to know, just transparently, I'm not good at this myself. I'm an introvert. I think I'm somewhere on the autism scale. It's hard for me to get close to people. It's not hard for me to get close to my kids and probably not my wife, but like the people at church and so on. This is really hard, but we need it. Thanks for taking the time for watching. This is probably a little longer than I initially planned, but I hope it was helpful. Thanks so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.